In your materials, I see that you are looking at some expansion for seniors and people with disabilities, but recently I've had the opportunity to speak with representatives from a number of our state's universities, and they spoke to me about the food insecurity that many of their students are experiencing. The average university student is unable to accept or access SNAP benefits. There are some exceptions, and there are some larger exceptions granted during COVID. But as the individuals from the universities told me about the food pantry programs that they have in place for their students, that's wonderful, and I thank them for that work that they're doing. But what it also tells me is that there must be a gap, that there is an unmet need that we are not addressing as a state for SNAP benefits for college students. And I wonder if you could talk a bit about the size of that gap and what we could perhaps be doing in our budget to address it.
So as you know, the SNAP program is a federally funded program entirely, and of course has been cut significantly as the public health emergency comes to an end. And that emergency allotment that all 1.9 million SNAP recipients in the Commonwealth are receiving has now come to an end. The governor is proposing a historic investment of state dollars in the SNAP program that would allow seniors and individuals with disabilities to receive a basic benefit of at least $35 a month. Currently, it sits at $23. We anticipate that that would help about 105,000 Pennsylvanians. Happy to discuss with you further groups of individuals who could perhaps benefit.
So what I'm concerned about is, for instance, we're talking about providing free breakfast and free lunch to students who are enrolled in public schools in Pennsylvania, which is wonderful. But then once those students go off to college, there's nothing for many of them. So while we make jokes as a society about gaining the freshman 15 when you go to college, we have people who are perhaps losing that freshman 15 because they do not have sufficient access to calories. So what could be done to address that unmet need, in your opinion? Have you looked at that as a department to try to assess the number of university students who are experiencing hunger?
So while I'm very familiar with the fact that that is the case, and visited the food pantry at our county community college many times, I'm not aware that we have that data at DHS specifically for that population. But again, would be happy to work with you to take a look at that population and see if we can get some metrics around what it would take to provide assistance to them. Unless they met the federal qualifications for SNAP, then it would require state dollars to support that effort, but happy to talk with you about that.
And I was looking on your website to see the COVID exceptions that are added on to the exceptions that would allow university students to have access to SNAP benefits, and it wasn't clear to me when those are sunsetting. Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so I think everything, officially, President Biden ended the public health emergency yesterday. I know some things sunset yesterday. There's other things that won't sunset until the middle of May, which had been the most recent date that was announced for the end of the PHE until yesterday. So we can, yeah, I think maybe we can get you that answer.
Okay.
Testing 1, 2, 3. So the Secretary is absolutely correct. The expanded eligibility for students to receive SNAP was contingent upon the federal public health emergency. Federal rules also dictate that students may maintain their SNAP eligibility through to their next renewal. So it's not necessarily the case that all students who did receive SNAP benefits as a result of the federal public health emergency ended yesterday. So that's really great news. I also want to share that the department is absolutely looking to explore opportunities to, at a state level, establish policies that would continue SNAP eligibility for some students, short of additional federal action.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I would definitely appreciate the opportunity to continue that conversation to make sure that we're not creating an unmet need. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.